As we move further and further into the future of college athletics, with things like conference TV payouts and NIL becoming more important to college teams, how much money a program has is also becoming more important. There's a whole bunch of different rankings for college athletics programs, but in today's list, I'm going to go through the top 10 richest college football programs separate from their athletic departments. This list was released by the Wall Street Journal earlier this year, so it's as accurate as possible. While there are some pretty obvious connections between performance and how rich a program is, it wasn't exactly one for one. For example, Clemson and Alabama have been two of the most successful programs in college football for a long time, but neither program appears on the list in the top 10. Another thing to remember is that these numbers change, and if a team has a bad year, there's a chance they make less that year as opposed to when they have a good one. But the richest programs tend to stay at or near the top compared to the programs punching above their weight. So yeah, today we're going to talk about the 10 richest programs in college football, but before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about the 10 richest college football programs. So the team that comes in at number 10 is the Oklahoma Sooners at $881 million. That is crazy to me, and last year wasn't a particular good season for the Sooners as they finished just 6-7 and lost to Navy in the Armed Forces Bowl, but they are considered one of college football's top blue bloods with an overall record of 950, 348, and 53, or around 72%. That's a trend you're going to notice with the list, as the Blue Bloods make more money than most other schools. Of course, recently they were the top dog in the Big 12 under coaches like Bob Stoops and Lincoln Riley, but their move to the SEC has come with a cost. Their new head coach, Brent Venables, is just 22-17 in 4 years, and that is pretty far below average for them. But with a budget like Oklahoma's, you can assume that's an outlier and not the norm for a program that's produced 7 total Heisman winners and claimed 7 national titles. They recently brought in John Mateer from Washington State, who had an incredible year and personally reminds me a lot of Baker Mayfield, so I think they have a shot of getting back to that level again this year. At number 9, we have the Texas A&M Aggies, who are worth over $1 billion. Texas A&M is the lone college football program that hasn't made an appearance in the college football playoff, and their last national championship came in 1939. That being said, they're still the 9th richest college football program, sitting at around $1 billion. A lot of their money doesn't come from a vibrant football history, considering the team is just 785, 505, and 48, or around 60%. They're well known to have one of the most active donor bases in college sports, with donors consistently shelling out to the university in hopes of finding more success. Recently, though, that success has been hard to find. They hired Jimbo Fisher away from Florida State in 2018 to a 10-year, $75 million contract, which is one of the biggest contracts in college sports, and when they fired him in 2023, they were essentially paying him all that money just not to coach anymore. They're currently led by Mike Elko, who went 8-5 in his first year in 2024, and money hasn't always bought them success, but they're surrounded by programs who are contenders on the list, meaning that as long as they have support, they'll always be contenders. Number 8, we have the Tennessee Volunteers, which are valued at $1,017 million. They have the 8th richest college football program in the country, and they're kind of like Texas A&M. Their total win-loss record is 870, 415, and 53, or around 67%. We all know them lately for kicking Nico to the curb when he asked for more money, and we know that decision wasn't made because Tennessee couldn't pay for him, because they wanted to set the precedent. Tennessee is one of the SEC programs that's been on the rise after spending much of the 2010s being a middling SEC team and now becoming one of the top programs behind Georgia and Bama. They went 10-3 last season and made the college football playoff before losing to Ohio State in their house. Josh Heupel is a good coach, and if he keeps this trajectory, the Vols might win the SEC here soon. At number 7, we have Penn State. They're one of the more unlucky teams in the country, almost never being in position to compete in the Big Ten because of great years from other schools like Ohio State and Michigan, but the Nittany Lions are the 7th richest college football program, valued at $1,027 million, and both have the history and are good in the present to back them up as contenders. All time, Penn State is 921, 404, and 37, or about 69%, and they lay claim to 2 national titles. They made their first college football playoff appearance this past season, where they went to the semis before losing to Notre Dame. While James Franklin has been accused of being one of the worst clutch coaches in college football, he still has a 101-42 record. Next season, Penn State will have their best chance ever to win a championship, as the same team that took them to the Big Ten Championship and College Football Playoff will be back, and they also have a favorable schedule, with their only 2 tough games being against Oregon and Ohio State. At number 6, we have the LSU Tigers, as they've been on and off as one of the better programs in the 2000s, and that is reflected in them as they have a total of $1.06 billion. Of their 4 national titles, 3 were won after 2003, making them one of the new bloods of college football. They also have 3 Heisman Trophy winners, with their last 2 being Joe Burrow in 2019 and Jaden Daniels in 2023, helping propel the Tigers to a current standing amongst the top of the conference. They haven't been able to perform as well recently under Brian Kelly though, but they have a total record of 815, 438, and 47, or a win percentage around 65%. Coach Kelly took the Tigers to a 9-4 season last year where they went over Baylor in the Texas Bowl, and the toughest game on their schedule this year is on the road against Bama, and they could win double-digit games this season and find themselves back in the SEC title game and back in the college football playoff. Okay, so at number 5 we have the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They are the 5th richest team in college football, labeled at $1.3 billion, and this comes as no surprise as they went to the national championship last season despite dropping a Week 2 game at home against Northern Illinois. They did have one of the most expensive rosters in college football according to NIL, with guys like Jordan Clark, Bo Collins, and Riley Leonard. Historically, Notre Dame is one of the biggest blue bloods in the sport, as the private Catholic university in Indiana claims 11 total national titles, with their last being won in 1988. They also have 7 Heisman Trophy winners and a record of 962, 339, and 42, or around 73%. Notre Dame has come close to winning national titles since 1988, but hasn't gotten there quite yet. Despite that, head coach Marcus Freeman is one of the brightest young stars in the coaching world, as he has a 33-10 record, and the Irish have made the playoff a total of 3 times as an independent, completely separate from the conferences like the Big Ten and the SEC. At number 4, we have the Georgia Bulldogs, as they sped their way up to the 4th richest school on the list with $1.35 billion. While it feels like they've been good forever, they're another new blood in college football, winning their first national championship in 1942 and their second in 1980. Despite that, the Bulldogs have exploded recently under Kirby Smart, who's considered one of the best coaches in football. They've made the playoffs 4 times since 2017 and are considered the heir apparent to Nick Saban's Alabama dynasty. In a stretch from 2021 to 2024, Georgia got 2 national championships and a consistent placement amongst the top of the SEC. The 2024 Bulldogs made the playoff after beating Texas in overtime to win the SEC title, but they would end up losing in the quarterfinals to Notre Dame, joining the other top 4 seeds losing their first matchup. They finished the year at 11-3. Coach Smart is currently 105-19 as the head coach of Georgia since taking over in 2016, and it really feels like the only thing that can stop Georgia is Georgia. That being said, they don't have the history that these top 3 teams do, and it shows in their bank account. So Michigan is the 3rd richest team in college football in 2025, landing at $1.65 billion. They're one of college football's blue bloods, with most of their success being historic, but they've managed to win national titles recently under Jim Harbaugh. They have a total record of 1,012, 358, and 36, or a 73% winning percentage. They are currently the winningest team in college football, with more wins than anybody else. This is correlated into them being one of the biggest brands in the sport, which has also come with titles. The Wolverines lay claim to 12 total national championships, with their last one coming in 2023. They only have 2 national title wins after 1948, but have finished a rebuild that took most of the 2000s to complete. They also claim 3 Heisman winners and multiple Coach of the Year award. 2024 was a bit of a down season for them though. After losing Jim Harbaugh to the Chargers of the NFL, they decided to elevate Sherrone Moore to head coach. He took the team to an 8-5 record with a victory over Bama in the RICHEST Bowl and beating Ohio State again. Again, despite having that down season, they beat Ohio State for the 4th year in a row, and they were the national champions. The University of Texas has some of the same monetary strengths that Texas A&M has, but even more. They are valued at $1.9 billion, and they're the flagship university of the football-loving state of Texas, meaning there's no shortage of passionate donors with large bank accounts willing to shell out to make their football team more successful, but for second, they're an even more successful football program historically, making them the 2nd richest team in college football, as I said, at $1.9 billion. They currently have an all-time record of 953, 393, and 33, or a winning percentage around 70%. They claimed 4 total national titles, with their last coming in 2005, and they also have 2 Heisman winners in Earl Campbell and Ricky Williams. They immediately made the jump from the Big 12 to the SEC with a 13-3 record, and with losses to Georgia in the SEC championship game and to Ohio State in the playoff, But they've been a slow burn in 4 seasons with Steve Sark as their head coach, and they've gotten back to being one of the best teams in college football after a period where they were arguably the most disappointing for much of the 2010s. And finally, it should not come as a surprise, but the Ohio State Buckeyes are number 1, as they are valued at nearly $2 billion. They just came off of a season where they won the college football playoff with a roster that was famously the most expensive in college sports. Before the season even started, there were reports that their roster cost up to $20 million in NIL, and that's something that will only get more and more common, given it was apparently enough for them to win a title. Ohio State proved you can buy a trophy in the modern world of college sports, but even on top of that, they're the richest team in college football with nearly $2 billion at their disposal. As one of college football's blue bloods, they lay claim to a 978, 335, and 53 all-time record, or a 74% winning percentage. They have 9 claimed national titles, including one in 2024, and 7 Heisman Trophy winners, with running back Archie Griffin winning 2. Ohio State has almost never had a period of sustained losing, and it's hard to see that changing in the modern world of college football. Ryan Day's had a successful record, and Ohio State is constantly at the top of recruiting rankings, and they're probably going to stay at the top of the list for quite some time. So yeah, today we talked about the 10 richest programs in college football, and what do you guys think? Why do you think these teams have become so successful? Who do you think will be the next blue blood in college football? And what other topics should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below, leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out some of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.